breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Justin Perri, who does such great work over at Pitcher List, shot quality bets, and so much more. We're going to be chatting with him about some of the players that he thinks might be progressing / regressing with regards to taking a look at some of the top home run hitters in all of baseball. We're going to be talking about the New York Yankees, what they've accomplished this year, why he actually thinks that they should be better than what they are, and why their record is a little bit misleading. We're also going to be diving in on the Atlanta Braves, some of their upside as well. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM. Name does not matter, size per usual. Please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter /X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they're making sure that bettors are able to get all the funds that they need when they need them, and they're able to make sure that all of your gambling transactions are approved 100% of the time. When you go to edgeboost.bet, type in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That gets you a $1 for $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Monday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Tampa Bay Rays find a way to get the job done over the Boston Red Sox, 10-8 in 11 innings. For the Boston Red Sox, Brian Bayo, not necessarily the world's greatest performance, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 6 1/3 innings, and bullpen was rough. You had Brandon Bernardino give up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning. Luis Guerrero goes for 2 1/3 innings, allows a run. Aroldis Chapman gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning, and then Zach Kelly, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned as he walked in a runner. For the Red Sox, they went 4 of 23 with men in scoring position, stranding 14 men on base. For the Rays, they strand 11 men on base. They go 6 of 15 with men in scoring position. That's a difference in the game. For the Boz, Shane Boz gives up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Garrett Clevenger, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Manuel Rodriguez, a scoreless inning. Eric Orze gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. And then you had Ian Seymour in his MLB debut go for 2 innings. He gives up an unearned run in the 10th, closes things out in the 11th. Pete Fairbanks, though, gave up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, allowing this game to get to the extra innings sort of format. So there was that aspect of things. And Yuri Perez, in his first start since the 2023 campaign, not great. 10-3. The Pittsburgh Pirates get the job done. Perez lasts just 3 innings, giving up 4 runs, all of which were earned. Did have 5 strikeouts, and then Jansen Junk, he lives up to his name. He gives up 9 hits, 4 innings pitched, 5 runs in total allowed before Tyler Phillips gives up a run in an inning. For the Marlins, they go 1 of 10 with men in scoring position, and Otto Lopez gets his 6th home run in the campaign. Comes off of Mike Burrows, who gave up 2 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Chase Yoger, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Caleb Ferguson, 2 scoreless innings. Kyle Nicholas, he goes for 2 innings. He allows a run along the way. For the Cincinnati Reds, it was Wade Miley having a party out there in Cleveland, 7-4. The Reds do find a way to persevere. Miley gives up 3 runs in 5 innings, and he gets a W. Ian Gabo, Tony Santillan, Emilio Pagan all give 8 scoreless inning. Graham Ashcraft, well, this was a load of Ashcraft. He gave up a home run to Mr. Bo Naylor, 9th home run in the campaign, and Release Ortiz, he was a load of Ashcraft as well, giving up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings, including a pair of bombs. CJ Friedel, 6th home run season. Jake Fraley is 5th. From there, you did have a run given up in an inning by Matthew Festa. Jacob Junis allows a run in an inning. Kobe Allard, unearned run given up in 2 innings so far. Tim Aaron and out of the bullpen scoreless, but Cleveland Guardians been a little bit shaky for them, and the Reds back above 500. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Philadelphia Phillies as they get the win over the Chicago Cubs, this by a count of 4-3. Cubs have been one of your best over teams in all of baseball. 34 overs, 26 unders, and 6 pushes, but they lose this game because they give up back-to-back bunt singles in the 11th inning, and they themselves were trying to be able to get in a man from third with 1 out, and they were unable to. So bunting really costed them in this game. Matthew Boyd, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in 6 innings. Ryan Presley, a scoreless inning. Drew Pomeranz, Brad Keller combined for 2 scoreless innings, and then Daniel Palencia, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up between the 10th 10th and the 11th inning. Pair of home runs for the Cubs as Kyle Tucker goes deep off of Zach Wheeler, 13th home run season, and Ian Happ off of Matt Strum, his 5th home run in the campaign. For Whelan and Elin Wheeler, first start off the paternity list. Congratulations to him. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. That's home run. Tanner Banks, Orion Kirkering, Jordan Romano, all lend a scoreless inning. Matt Strum gives up a solo run in his inning of work, and Carlos Hernandez gives up an unearned run in the 11th inning, but it is enough to persevere and get the job done. Also being able to get the job done, the Atlanta Braves, now 11-23 on the road, which is pretty insane. 7-1, they get the win over the Brewers as Chris Sale, he was dealing 11 strikeouts, 1 run allowed in 7 innings. Rossio Iglesias only, both lend a scoreless inning, and for the Atlanta Braves, it was home run derby in this one. Eli White, 3rd home run season off of Grant Anderson. Aaron Savali gives one up to Ronald Acuna Jr., 5th home run in the campaign. And Matt Olson, 14th home run season off of DL Turn-It-Up Hall, as for Savali, gives up 2 runs in 4 and 2/3 innings, piggybacked by DL Hall, who gives up 2 runs in 3 innings, and then Grant Anderson gives up 3 runs in 1 1/3 inning. So if you took the over 7.5, you were just barely able to get there. Lots of overs were happening in baseball on Monday, including the Cardinals and the Blue Jays game going over. And for St. Louis, by the way, 3rd best over team in all of baseball, 36 overs, 27 unders, and 3 pushes. And for the Cardinals, they've also been one of your best home teams in all of baseball, but not on this day. 5-4, they lose to the Toronto Blue Jays. They are now 22-12 at home. And for Ryan Elsley, 3rd straight blown save, 5th blown save of the season. He allows a solo run in his inning of work as the team was up 4-3 going into the 9th inning, where it looked like the Blue Jays had lost what was a very good Jose Abreu start. 6 2/3 inning scoreless. From there, you had Brandon Little put a pair of men on base, gives up 2 runs in an inning, and then Uriel Rodriguez gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, and he served up a home run to Ivan Herrera, his 7th home run in the campaign. But Jeff Hoffman, he goes for the 10th inning scoreless, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, in this game, you had Riley O'Brien give one up to, don't call his name, Alejandro Kirk. For Kirk, his 4th home run of the season. Then home run number 1 of the season for Jonathan Clase off of the closer and Ryan Elsley. For Andre 3000 Palante, not a bad start. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. O'Brien gives up that solo run in his 2 innings of work, but Elsley, he gives up that home run in the 9th inning to Clase, his 1st of the season. Then Phil Matone gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning. For the Athletics, they were able to sweep the Orioles, but still, this is a team that is now, I believe, 5-21 in their last 26 games. 7-4, the Angels find a way to persevere, get the job done. Grant Ullman, as the opener, was solid. He gave you a scoreless inning, but then Jeffrey Springs, 4 runs, 3 of which weren't, give it up in 6 innings, including a home run, as you had Joe Adell set fire to the rain, 12th home run in the campaign. Yusei Kikuchi, I say 7 1/3 inning scoreless out of him. Connor Brogdon does give up 2 runs, and he does not get an out of the bullpen, as he did allow a home run to J.J. Bleday, 7th home run season. Max Muncy, other Max Muncy, 4th home run in the campaign. That comes off of Sean Armstrong. Armstrong gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Ryan Zephyr-Young, Kenley Jansen, they combine for 3 outs out of the bullpen and scoreless. And for the Athletics, you did have 3 runs given up by Tyler Ferguson in an inning of work, and you had a lot of runs given up by the Seattle Mariners, but none by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks, they find a way to persevere after getting swept by the Cincinnati Reds, this by a count of 4-0. As Emerson Hancock, not a bad start in this one. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run going deep for Arizona. You had Corbin Carroll get his 19th home run in the campaign, and for Merrill Kelly, 6 scoreless innings. You had from there the duo of Ryan Thompson along Kyle Bacchus combined for a scoreless inning. Shelby Miller, a scoreless inning, and then Justin Martinez, he closes things out in the 9th inning. And for the Seattle Mariners bullpen, you did have Casey Lugumina give up 2 runs in his 2 innings of work. Edward Bizzardo, Gabe Spire, they were able to piecemeal a scoreless inning together. And for the Padres and the Dodgers, I have to do this to upload it by midnight Pacific time, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, but as I'm recording this, it is tied 6-6. You've got all these runs in the first 5 innings. Since then, the bullpens have been able to hold down the fort. As for the Dodgers, Dustin May, it was May Day, 6 runs, 5 of which were earned, give it up in his 5 innings of work. Anthony Banda held it down for 2 scoreless innings. Alex Vesia, scoreless inning, and you did have Will Smith get jiggy with it off of Nick Pivetta, 6th home run in the campaign, and for Pivetta, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, give it up in his 4 innings of work. Yuki Matsui, he gives up a run in an inning, but Sean Reynolds, a scoreless inning. Audrey Marahone, Jeremiah Estrada have combined for 2 scoreless innings themselves, so we shall see how that one wraps up, because we do have to upload this by midnight Pacific time. But that said, if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, been an underwhelming season. We did see quite a few overs on Monday, but still a under rate of about 53.3%, 441 overs to 504 unders. Overall, money line favorites are hitting at about 57.6% this season, 563 and 415 on the money line, and in the last 7 days, it's been really rough for favorites. 48 and 45, 51.6% hit rate with that Dodgers versus Padres game pending, and then overs. Still having a rough go of it over the last 7 days, even with a good Monday. 42 overs to 49 unders, so over 54% to the under. That's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do talk with our good friend Justin Perri, who does great work over at Pitcher List, and so much more right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast, and it's always great to be joined by this man as we've got Justin Perri aboard. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's over there at Action Network doing a great job drumming up bets. He's doing great work over at Shot Quality and Shot Quality Bets, taking a look at the sport of basketball, obviously college basketball, his main gig, but he does some WNBA, the NBA Finals are on, so he's done a great job on that front. He's over at Pitcher List as well, and I think in his spare time, he sells hot dogs at a hot dog stand as well. You're able to follow him on Twitter/X at his first and last name, Justin Perri, the number 8 altogether. And Justin, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, the hot dog stand did need to get shut down just for tonight so I could be here on the podcast, but always a pleasure to join, talk a little baseball. Nothing that you can't tackle with a little bit of elbow grease in this world. I always appreciate the shout out to everything that we're working on. It's baseball season. Summer's here. There's only a few more games of the NBA to go. WNBA we're going to be doing, but we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of great performers, a lot of sneaky values and teams that are heating up, cooling down. It's getting into the meat of the season for baseball. This is the middle third. So this is where you want to try to stake your claim on a couple squads.
I'm so glad to have you aboard as well, because something that I've noticed in baseball this year, it feels like in terms of home run hitters, there's been a big giant divide between the have-them and the have-nots. Obviously, your guys on the Chicago Cubs have been rock solid, like Pete Crow Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki. You go to the likes of a Kyle Schwarber, Aaron Judge, Big Dumper Cal Raleigh have been amazing, but it feels like there aren't as many guys that are sort of in that mid-tier of hitting home runs. I'm not sure if you've been noticing the same thing this year, but it does feel like there's been a little bit more of a, shall we say, stark difference between the top guys and the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Home run leaders for sure feel like there's a little bit of that imbalance. There's a lot of guys like fledgling there at like that 10 to maybe 12. But yeah, the big guys, it's pretty few and far between, right? I mean, you're talking about, I think there's 35 players with 11 home runs or more. There are only 10 players with more than 15 home runs, though. That's a very, very big difference. And like you said, the have and the have-nots, right? Eugenio Suarez and Corbin Carroll are on the same team, and they both have 18. Pete Crow Armstrong and Seiya Suzuki are on the same team, and they have a combination of 33. That takes up 4 out of the 9 spots there, 10 spots there that have more than 15 home runs right now. And so, yeah, it feels a little clustered for sure. You also have guys like Junior Caminero, Tyler Soderstrom, Brandon Lowe, Brent Rooker, who all have more than 12, 13 home runs a pop, and they're playing in these parks that are a little bit easier to hit in. And again, talk about Aaron Judge playing at Yankee, talk about some of these stadiums where it's easier, where it's harder. I mean, these are very real things, but you're definitely correct. I mean, when Cal Raleigh has 26 and the 20th man has half that, it's a very, very big difference.
Yeah, it's been wild what we've been seeing out of Cal Raleigh, and just how have you taken a look at some of these guys that have been, in my opinion, perhaps really being able to bust out, because we've had a few of those guys this year, like Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubs is certainly someone that I mentioned. We all knew that Cal Raleigh had power. I don't think that we knew that he had power to where he gets 26 home runs and puts himself on pace to break the American League record. And I always think that's so interesting, because we know that in baseball, it's a 162-game season. It's a grind, but now we're past Memorial Day. Now we're into June, and it does feel like someone like a Cal Raleigh is just not going to be slowing down.
Well, I think it's an interesting dynamic, because take an Aaron Judge versus a Cal Raleigh. I think with Cal, you're probably getting pitchers sort of like hearing that, all right, 26 home runs, outpacing Aaron Judge, outpacing Shohei Ohtani. Let's see what this guy's about. Like, the Mariners, they're good, but, Cal's kind of come out of nowhere. I think at some point, you're going to hit an inflection spot where teams will stop essentially like challenging him as much and almost give him less to hit. I think you haven't gotten there yet. I think there's like a pseudo challenge to him that you're still getting from some of the pitchers being like, all right, well, let's see how he does. Like, this new guy to the leaderboards. Whereas Judge and Ohtani, it's all right. How much can we dance around the strike zone? Like, Cal will eventually graduate into that level of respect that you get for Ohtani, for Freeman, for Alonso, for Schwarber, for Devers. Those guys, these fortified, certified, bona fide sluggers, Rally's now going to get that treatment. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him go under what would be like a current live line on his home run total of what I'm guessing is probably right around 60, 59 and a half.
When it came to the game on Saturday, he was on pace for 64, which I don't think he's getting to 64. And
right. The pace versus the betting line, though. Like the betting line is going to understand there's going to be some regression to the mean. And then I think you could even make some money betting into that further and say it's going to go even further than the book's expectation, is my point.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be looking at, can he get to 50 this year? I think that's really the big question, as we do have Justin Perri, who does such great work over at Pitcher List, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and that's a fun dynamic. And I know you do a lot of fantasy, you do a lot of taking a look at player props, what have you, over at Pitcher List, and just what's been standing out to you this year? Because if you're looking at just full games in baseball this year, what has been standing out to me this year, the high under rate, and typically we see things heat up here in June, late May, and those unders just still have not been hitting even with the weather warming up.
Yeah, I think that's coming. We saw it a little bit in Miami and Tampa this weekend, and they got a little hot and they allowed 21 runs. That's going to start happening. You're going to start seeing those pitchers get a little fatigued. We're starting to see a couple even good pitchers start to struggle out of the stretch. George Kirby just, mowed down 14 people, but even he let a Taylor Ward home run off the stretch early in the game. After the first batter, Mike Trout got aboard. He was going perfect, and he let up a single, and then his first pitch out of that stretch just got clobbered. And I think there's something to that. There's a reason to think that these pitchers, maybe in these warmer games, as it starts to heat up, might get into worse jams. They're going to be able to perform, and when there's not that much pressure, and in those scenarios, they're going to, no man out, no man on. Certain scenarios are very low pressure, but the high pressure scenarios, my hypothesis is that those will start to see a less success rate for pitchers, and we'll start seeing more runs score in those first innings where you get a man on first and second with one out, and you get two strikeouts against, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth guy in the order. In July, the fly ball that you get maybe in that second out there, it goes over the head. Who knows? Or maybe it doesn't get that inch of break that you need because it's a little bit hotter out. We'll see. Summer baseball, I think we're going to get some runs. The ball's been flying for sure.
Yep, it certainly has been. And then when you've got ballparks like Yankee Stadium, I think that it makes it so interesting. And I know that you are a Yankees fan, Justin. They're currently the number 2 team out there in the American League record-wise, as the Detroit Tigers have been absolutely amazing this year. But how do you take a look at a team like the Yankees, who they took a few losses against the Red Sox over the weekend? And my big concern with them is that bullpen without Luke Weaver right now.
There's a really great analyst who does some work with expected baseball stats, the deserve to win-o-meter. And I think he does some work with the Chicago Fire as well. The Yankees are one of the unluckiest teams in baseball. I think about 5 to 6 net wins more expected if you want to get into the very shot quality-esque counting of it. So is it a potential buy low on the Yankees right now? I think maybe. I think they've gotten a little unlucky. I think, they've had even, some rallies maybe get extended that change game results. A couple hits don't go their way. And maybe that's hard for people to believe because of the Yankees, or maybe even worse, it's hard to find value on them, which might very well be true. They're just so aggressively priced by the books because of who they are. And Aaron Judge is the face of the league along with Shohei. Between them and the Dodgers, it's which side is more inappropriately priced. I don't know who's winning, but I do think they're very good. I do think they are very, very good, and they might be the best team in baseball. I know that's kind of hard for people to swallow with the Dodgers sitting there, but I mean, we're not seeing Mookie perform the way we're used to. Freddie's great, but Will Smith kind of feels like the third man on the Dodgers right now. And if that's the case, it's probably Teoscar Hernandez, but Andy Paez. Yeah, I mean, he's been great. He's been great. He's a hot month for sure. Hitting like 325 the last month, RBI total skyrocketing. I actually just flipped him straight up for Jack Flaherty in one of my leagues because he's doing so well. But he's probably a 275 hitter in reality. And he does get a great benefit of hitting behind who he hits behind. And he'll probably continue to drive in a lot of RBIs. But these are the types of conversations that you want to have now where, well, what happens with that type of roster in the playoffs? Like, who are the guys who you want in the playoffs behind you? And I feel like when you have Aaron Judge with Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt, and you have Trent Grisham, who, while he's been cold, is drawing walks, and Volpe's hurt, but he's doing well, and he gets a lot of hate, but he's a very efficient player. Yeah, I don't know. If they can get Luis Heel back, especially, and Rodon, does okay, there's a lot of reasons to think that the Yankees will make it back to the World Series and challenge the Dodgers again. And I think they literally and figuratively dropped the ball last year. So there's plenty of reason to think it should be coming back to New York 2-2. I mean, you want to talk about what it's been like to be a New York sports fan for the last year between the Yankees, St. John's, the Knicks. I can't catch one, Greg. But that said, it's been an interesting team to analyze. I think they catch maybe a little too much flack. They're very good and maybe should be treated as though they are the best.
Well, I can tell you there are probably a lot of Washington sports fans that are like, well, I would love to be a New York sports fan right now, but that said, I do think
fair.
That's
look, I'm actually a big fan of what the Nats have done. James Wood deserves
top 7 in scoring in the month of May. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, look, and they got some good parts. They got to put it together. There are worse off teams. That is for sure. I'd much rather be them. I mean, in terms of how the Braves look right now, stuff out there. But I think you want to talk about the Braves. I think Ronald Acuna is a great opportunity to buy low. He really looks like he's already swinging the bat like he could be a top 3 player again immediately. Like, it's just so crazy. All the expected pitch level stuff from Pitcher List so far is like his decision making and his power are just unbelievable. And his contact hasn't been great yet. If he figures that out, oh man, he could very easily be the player of the second half. It wouldn't surprise me. He's just that talented.
And I'm so glad that you do mention the Braves, though, because this is something I've looked at that I think is so interesting. We've got teams with demonstrative home and road splits, but theirs might be the most in all of baseball. Entered into the week 17-14 at home, 10-23 on the road. Like, in terms of National League teams, the only teams with fewer road wins are the Colorado Rockies and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, how do we take a look at this? Because I have to think they're going to win more games on the road, but now we're at June, and this has been just crazy.
Yeah, well, it'll be crazy. It's all right. They're going to be all right. It's definitely a tough spot. It is absolutely insane to start looking at a wild card page in June, Greg. But the Braves are 9.5. They dug a hole. They dug a hole. They are behind the Nats. They are behind the Nationals. They are behind the Diamondbacks. Well, yes, they are a terrible road team, but
they're behind the
positive, right? They have a positive run differential. They've lost 7 in a row. It's going to turn around. They're going to get it. It's 1-run games. I mean, I don't think a lot of Braves players are listening to the podcast, but, they should continue to just keep on staying true to it. Reds, the Diamondbacks, the Nationals will all give you chances to get in there. Padres, I think, are a little lucky. Phillies have a lot of question marks. Cardinals, Brewers will be interesting. But, man, baseball is crazy. You can never count anything out. I mean, it does kind of feel like the Cubs, Dodgers, and Mets are winning their divisions. But after that, who really knows? I think there's a good chance for Atlanta to sneak into the playoffs. It wouldn't shock me at all. I think it's probably a decent value bet if you can get anything better than 2-1 right now.
It is so interesting to be able to dive in. And for the Braves, I think it's going to be getting better. I think the big thing is that bullpen with now Craig Kimbrell in there. That's hard to be able to find.
They DFA'd him. He was only on the team for a day, I think. Which is
hilarious because he threw a scoreless inning, too. They DFA'd him after a scoreless inning.
I think that's pretty great. I mean, again, they just don't have that. It's a lot of these teams in the NL. And I think there is going to be some real room to take some overs on these teams in the summer. when they're worn thin. And, these, especially like game two, I love a game two, game three of the series over after game one goes under, because you see like the use of like the best. I should like go look into the SDQL, whatever that is, all those crazy trends, and look into like second and third games of a series when like X number of pitchers are used in game one and there was a rest day before, because I feel like, especially in the summer, you're going to get the worst bullpen guys late in these games, and you're going to have a really good shot for like these crooked number innings from teams after the fifth and sixth inning.
Oh, and I absolutely love that you bring up that angle. How much do you want to take a look at these games where you get an explosion of runs in like game number one of a series where it's like 10-9 or something like that, and they have to use up their entire bullpen, and then go under, and then vice versa? Because I think that that's such a great strategy, and a lot of people want to react to what they've seen last. We were talking about the zigzag theory when it comes to the NBA Finals. A lot of people do. I think that the zigzag theory with regards to just run totals is one to take in baseball as well.
I agree. There's a lot of zigzagging. Everything's very cyclic, especially with like pitcher rotations and how you see these guys used a lot. There's stuff in there with like, it really, I think, correlates more with like how aggressive lineups are. Like Wednesdays are usually pretty low scoring early in games because you have getaway games and it's a weekday. I don't know if maybe it's because the games are low energy. It's like more day games in the middle of the week, and maybe rest isn't as efficient. I don't know. But I do know that Wednesdays have been one of the lowest scoring days by far in terms of first 5 inning totals. And obviously it's a very unique day in baseball because it has the getaway factor. So I don't know. There's a lot to consider. The game changes so quick though. I think if you're trying to figure things out, you have to be very good at like saying, oh, well, this worked last week and it's just not working now. So let me stop throwing money away on it until it looks like it's working again. Things change quick and you can't be tied to something because you will go down with the ship pretty fast. It's an expensive game to try to win at. It is by no means a cheap price. It's formulated to sound very inexpensive, 10 cents, but it is 10 cents on the dollar per loss. That's a steep price. You gotta be smart with where you play.
Yep, I am right there with you, and I'm so glad that you brought that up as well, because I do like Wednesdays, because if the day ends in Y, I believe that it needs a day game, and I always know that we're going to get day games on Wednesday, whereas with Tuesdays and Mondays, a little bit more brutal. But what is always tremendous is getting you aboard, Justin. You do such great work over at Pitcher List, Shot Quality Bets, Action Network. You're a little bit of everywhere, so let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely make sure to follow me over on Twitter at Justin Perri 8. Follow at Shot Quality Bets for our live betting show, my pick of the day, all that good stuff. And talk about my random baseball musings. I use a lot of the Pitcher List stats. Going to start doing some writing soon over there as well. And, should be a good baseball season. Have my starter sheets coming out every morning, posting a couple plays every now and again. So should be a fun time. And, we'll be betting every day. Hopefully back on the show soon to chat about a couple hot topics. But Braves sitting around plus 300, plus 320 to make the playoffs. I don't think that's a bad bet at all. Well,
with the Milwaukee Brewers, they are not going to be making the playoffs. So if you have to make a choice between the Brewers and the Braves, I certainly would be taking the Braves because I'm fully aware of this Brewers team. But absolutely, I do think that we've got ourselves a lot of teams that are going to be ascending towards the summer months. They're going to be getting hot, and a man that always stays hot, that'd be Justin Perri. A big thanks to Justin for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Justin Perri. He does such great work over at Shot Quality Bets. He does great work over at Pitcher List. You name it, he does it. He's doing some work over at Hoops HQ along with Seth Davis. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to our good friend Justin for joining me in the live segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Well, let's get things started with 951, 952 on the betting board. By the way, no day games once again. Shame on you, Major League Baseball. Shame on you. But that said, we've got the Miami Marlins, and they walk the plank to face off against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Brad Keller, he is going to be on the bump for the Buccos, and one Sandy Alcantara is on the bump for Miami. Right now, the Pirates are minus 120, plus 102 on Miami. Only place I'm seeing an opener is at FanDuel, and 8 is the total. Over and under, both at minus 110. I set the Pirates at a minus 156. Like, that's how far out I am on Sandy Alcantara. If we could get a, market-wide opener of minus 120, please do sign me up for the Pittsburgh Pirates on the money line. And, this is not a Pittsburgh Pirates offense that is good. They are currently dead last in the National League in terms of runs per game, and they've got, 3 guys on the roster that's got north of 5 home runs this year. As a matter of fact, approximately 3.2 runs per game at home entering into the day on Monday, but... And that said, you just take a look at Sandy Alcantara, and he is a wet match in a dark cave right now. 7.89 ERA, fielding independent of a 5.03, less than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Here's the kicker. When he was so good in that nice run when he won the Cy Young, his command was great. 4.7 walks per 9 innings allowed. He's just getting tattooed right now. He's given up 4+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. The lone exception was when he faced off against the Colorado Rockies at home, and it's not like he's being backed up by any sort of amazing bullpen. Ronnie Enriquez has been solid at sub-3 ERA in that bullpen. You've had Anthony Bender be solid as well, but these guys like Anthony Veziano, Jesus Sunoco, George Soriano, they're combining for a 4.54 bullpen ERA overall for the Marlins. That is 24th in the big leagues. Pirates are 20th. It's been rough for them. David Bednar is starting to round into a little bit of better form. You've got Dennis Santana able to give you some good innings, but you still have had a lot of guys like Joey Wentz and company that have come up short, but for Keller, throughout his career, he's always been a much better pitcher at home rather than on the road. We've seen some funky splits out of him thus far this season, but for his career, 4.10 home ERA. At home, he's given up less than 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. That balloons up to north of 1.3 home runs per 9 innings on the road, and a 5.04 ERA overall this season. It's been a ho-hum, a 4.13 ERA. He's been able to do a nice job keeping things out in front of him. 0.6 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, 326 fielding independent. So I think that he's going to be able to find it here. Again, this is a lineup that's not necessarily a lot to write home about for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but opportunity does present themselves against Sandy Alcantara. You've had O'Neal Cruz be able to supply you with 12 home runs. He's been able to do a nice job, give you north of a 340 on base. Additionally, you do have Brian Reynolds, who has been able to give you a little bit of power. The average is way down at 235, but he has been able to give the team 8 home runs. And Andy McCutcheon, 5 bombs, 350 on base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is hitting darn near 300. The big issue is these guys like Jared Trollo, Alexander Canario, Emmanuel Valdez, Henry Davis. You just go down the list of guys hitting 215 or lower at the bottom of the fold. It's been not great. And for the Miami Marlins, you've got plenty of guys that actually move the line for this team. As now you've got Xavier Edwards off the injured list. He once hit for a cycle. He's been able to do a nice job, give you about a 350 or so on base. You've had Eric Wagaman hit a 250, Connor Norby, Augustin Ramirez, a lot of guys in the neighborhood about a 240, 250. With AC Sanchez now up to a 350 on base. Ramirez, so I mentioned before, 8 home runs, and you got 10 out of Kyle Sowers, but those are the only 2 guys on this roster that are also hitting for power as well. So it's an interesting scenario. I did set my total here at 8.6. I do think that you're going to get runs up on the board, so here at the 8, I do like the over, and I do like the money line of Pittsburgh. 953, 954 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies play host to Chicago Cubs. Colin Reyes has hit Pepper to another start. Nick Abel is on the bump for the Phillies, and Abel is able to be the favorite at minus 110 to a minus 120. Anywhere between even money and plus 105 is that number on the Cubs. 9 is the total. Over is between minus 105 to a minus 115. Same goes for the under. And with Abel and company, I set the Phillies at a minus 120, and I'm going to be willing to buy in on this money line. I have really liked what I've seen out of Mick Abel in his first few starts at the AAA level. Was posting up a sub 235 ERA. Good swing and miss stuff. In his first 2 starts, 11 and a third innings, 11 strikeouts, did not walk a single batter. Now, he did have a little bit of easy street in his first start going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's always a little bit of a confidence booster, and even start number 2 against the Toronto Blue Jays, not necessarily the most daunting of tasks, but I like what I'm seeing here. Now, he does have to step up to the big times. The Chicago Cubs, they're right there at the top of the big leagues in terms of runs per game. You've got 5 different guys right now that have given you at least 10 home runs. It's Michael Busch, now has 10 plus home runs, and then you're able to take a look at these guys like a Pete Armstrong, along with, say, Suzuki, a combined 33 home runs. Entering into yesterday, Kyle Tucker, 12 home runs. He's giving you north of a 380 on base. Dansby Swanson is up to 11 home runs, and Carson Kelly, 9 home runs at 130 at bats, north of 350 on base. These guys are all doing a good job moving the line. Nico Horner, Ian Happ are finding a way on, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, they do need to add a little bit more power in the lineup. They have been without Bryce Harper over the last few weeks ever since he took a ball off the elbow, so want to be noting that. And really the only guy outside of Harper with north of 7 home runs on the roster is Kyle Schwarber. 20 home runs. He has been amazing with his north of 350 on base, but you do have other guys that are moving the line and getting on base. The power isn't there again, but Alec Bohm, along with Edmundo Sosa, Nick Castellanos, in between about a 272, 285. Trey Turner, 7 home runs, hitting at 300. You're going to need to get a little bit more out of some of these guys, like a Yohan Rojas. Weston Wilson is right now seeing some at-bats, and for the Philadelphia Phillies, certainly this bullpen has been not so amazing to say the least, especially with Jose Alvarado currently out because he was taking weight loss supplements. Tanner Banks, Ryan Kerkering, Matt Strom hovering between about a 3 to a 4 ERA. Kerkering actually a little bit below a 3 ERA, but yeah, Jordan Romano, he has not been great. North of a 7 ERA, he just has not been able to find it all season long. And for the Chicago Cubs, to their credit, if you look at the last 30 days in Major League Baseball, they actually have been your number 1 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They have posted up a .71 ERA. I don't know if it's going to be long lasting though, because a lot of these guys have just come from out of nowhere. I wish I could put it any other way, but I mean, you take a look at these guys like Daniel Palencia, Brad Keller, Drew Pomerantz. They've been able to give you a sub 250 ERA, and I want to believe, and I do think that they're actually going to be able to do a solid job moving forward. I think that they have pitched a little bit out above their skis here, just a tad, because you've had Ryan Presley be a roll of the dice all season long. Now you're getting Brian Brasher back. I think that he's going to be rock solid, but I do think that Mick Abel runs a better start than Colin Ray, as Colin Ray, he has been a very much pitch-to-contact guy ever since he was able to get with the Milwaukee Brewers a few seasons ago. 359 ERA, 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's been giving up about 2.7 walks per 9, 432 fielding dependent, and he has given up a combined 12 runs over the course of his last 3 starts. So I did set the Phillies at a minus 128. I like their money line, and I'm in on the over semi-total at a 9.3. 955, 956 on the card. The New York Metropolitans playoffs to the Washington Nationals. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Nats, and Griffin Canning is on the bump for the Mets. Mets are between minus 155 to minus 160, and between plus 135 to plus 142. That number on Washington, 7.5 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110, and for the Nats, I did set them at a plus 138. So here at the plus 140, I'm going to be willing to buy in on the money line. Mackenzie Gore has just been really good this season, and it's unfortunate that there's such a poop-tastic bullpen behind him, because for Mackenzie Gore, he has a 3-5 record with a 287 ERA, 258 fielding dependent, 12.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only allowing 1 home run per night. It's not quite Paul Skeens numbers, but he's getting the same level of disrespect. He has given up a combined 1 run in his last 3 starts. So he has been going out there doing his part, and for the Washington Nationals, they present him with guys like a Zach Brzezinski in the bullpen. You've been having Eduardo Salazar, who's been sort of up and down with the big league squad. They had to let go of Lucas Sims, but they just have not been able to find good bullpen pitching. You've got Cole Henry, who's been able to give you a sub 3.5 ERA. Kyle Finnegan has been pretty rock solid, but all of a sudden Jackson Rutledge has been going down the toilet bowl. But I will say this about the Washington Nationals. The offense has been able to come into focus, and they were a top 7 team in the month of May in terms of being able to produce runs, as you've got James Wood, who's been absolutely incredible for their team. How about a 366 on base and 16 home runs out of him? CJ Abrams, Josh Bell, a combined 17 home runs. Now, Bell's providing no average whatsoever, but CJ Abrams, he's hitting for about a 260. You've been able to have Keeper Ruiz be able to move the line. He's hitting for about a 255. Jose Tena's hitting at 255. Alex Call, north of a 390 on base. So these guys are coming into focus. You've had Nathaniel Lowe have a little bit of a tough time finding a way on base along Dylan Cruz, but Lowe has been able to give you 8 home runs, and Cruz being on the injury list, honestly, is not a bad thing for this team. And on the flip side, you do have a New York Metropolitan team that certainly was able to come into focus, going up to elevation and just absolutely pounding the tar out of the Colorado Rockies. Nice confidence booster there. Pete Alonso is up to 17 home runs and nearly 400 on base. Juan Soto, though the average is down, he's up to about a 380 in terms of on base. 4 home runs in his last 2 weeks. So he's starting to get with the program a little bit more. Francisco Lindor, 14 bombs, 350 on base. Could use a little bit more out of Luanel Acuna. He's only hitting about a 245 with no power. Brett Baty has been up and down as well, but for the Mets, their saving grace has really been their bullpen this year. Number 2 in terms of ERA. The pitching has just been so good across the board for this team, as Reed Garrett has a sub-1 ERA, Oscar Brazobin along with Edwin Diaz, sub-240 ERAs, and you've even been able to get some good innings of like Ryan Stanek, Jose Buto, and when it comes to Griffin Canning, do I think that there's going to be a little bit of regression to his 290 ERA? Yes, he's been giving up about 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. His fielding independent is a little bit more than half a point higher than his ERA is. He's been able to do a nice job, give the ball in the air, giving up 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, but is giving up 4 walks per 9 innings, and being able to get this sort of plus number on the Nationals and Gore, I think that he does go out there, gets the job done. I semi-total it at 8.1. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the silver and the money line of Washington. 957, 958 on the card. The Milwaukee Brewers play the Atlanta Braves. Grant Holmes is on the bump for the Bravos, and Quinn Preister goes for the Brew Crew. 8.5 is the total. Overs between minus 115 to a minus 120. Unders between even a minus 105. The Braves are between minus 115 to minus 120. Even money to plus 106 is that number on the Brewers. I set the Braves at a minus 132. I recognize that the Braves entered into the day on Monday 10-23 on the road, but I do think that Quinn Preister has some massive issues that he does need to rectify. As for Mr. Preister, he's posting up a 388 ERA, but feeling he plays more around a 458. Just too many walks, 4.2 walks per 9 innings, 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So the ball's in play all over the place against him in his last 5 appearances, because he once used an opener from 3 runs or fewer allowed in every one of them. Again, I don't know how long this Houdini act is going to be able to last for him, as he's been really good at being able to just get out of jams. Meanwhile, for Grant Holmes, 399 ERA, feel he penned more around a 454, as he's got 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the deep balls hurt him, 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. But this has been a Brewers team that's been a little bit hit or miss with regards to the deep ball. You do have Christian Yelich, who's up to 13 home runs, and this team all season long has really come and gone with Christian Yelich. When Christian Yelich is down, this team is down. When he's up, this team is up. As for Yelich, he's also been able to do a nice job swiping bags. He, Bryce Turang, Jackson Chourio, Sal Frelick, all at least 10 stolen bases this year. Brewers as a whole have been right at the top of the big leagues in terms of stealing bags. And for Turang, along with Sal Frelick, throwing their William Contreras, Rhys Hoskins, all these guys between about a 347 to a 360 on base. Only other guy outside of Yelich with a double-figure amount of bombs is Jackson Chourio. 10 home runs as far this season. You need a little bit more out of the middle infield. Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, both hitting below a 215 has not been ideal, but Isaac Collins has actually been able to give you 350 on base. But this is a Brewers bullpen that has really went down the tubes, as well as they are in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. This despite the fact that Abner Uribe has been amazing. Sub 150 ERA. It's just a case where Yopai himself and Figueroa that were so good for this bullpen last season. They were just so awful this year. Neither of these guys are really giving you anything whatsoever, as Piams is down at the minor league level. Figueroa has been injured all season long, and you've got Grant Anderson give you a sub 325 ERA along Trevor McGill. These guys have stepped up quite a bit, but you just have not been able to get the same level of production on some of these guys like Jared Koenig. Brian Hudson has been down at the minor league level as well. And then for the Atlanta Braves, obviously this has been a bullpen that has had some strife, to say the least. We all know what happened last Thursday against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and having Desmond Hernandez on the injured list is rough. They gave one appearance to our good friend and Craig Kimbrell before they decided that they weren't going to be trying that anymore. But that said, you've got Dylan Lee's been able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Angel De Los Santos, sub 3 ERA. Pierce Johnson has been a little bit of an issue for the team, but the bigger issue is Raisel Iglesias has been terrible at the closer spot. That said, I do think that he's going to find it a little bit more, and I do think that the Braves do find a way to get the job done here. I set my money line at a minus 132, so like the Braves here, and I set my total at 8.4, so at the 8.5, I like the under 959, 960 on the betting board. It is the Colorado Rockies playing against the San Francisco Giants. Kyle Harrison is on the bump for the Giants, and Carson Palmquist is on the bump for Colorado. 11.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And we're between minus 220 to a minus 235. That number on San Francisco, plus 192 to plus $2 is that number on Colorado. And with the Colorado Rockies, I needed at least a plus 268 to take a shot here. I'm going to be willing to back Kyle Harrison and company. And for Kyle Harrison, he does own a 4.34 ERA across his 4 appearances this year, but 3.55 fielding depending. He's allowing 1 home run per 9 innings, a little bit over the 3 walks per 9, but 9.5 punch outs per 9. And I don't think that he's going to be going overly deep in this appearance. He has not went north of 5 innings in any of his appearances this year because he has split time between the bullpen and being a starter, but he's backed up by a bullpen that has been absolutely amazing this year. The San Francisco Giants entering into Monday about 0.6 points clear of the next best bullpen in terms of ERA, 2.32 ERA, numero uno in all of baseball. Camilo Duvall, Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, Randy Rodriguez all give you a sub 275 ERA. Spencer Bivens has been rock solid in a long roll as well. Ryan Walker has been like the only issue for this bullpen, but he's starting around in form. And for the San Francisco Giants, how about a trio of different guys between 11 and 12 home runs this season? Wilmer Flores, Eloy Ramos, Matt Chapman. Chapman has been able to give you 360 on base along with Ramos. Ramos hitting for a bit more average with about a 290 average now. William Adames has been miserably bad this year, hitting below a 200 with 5 home runs. Bad. That's not great. And you do have a few of those dead bats with the Giants. Patrick Bailey, Luis Matos, Lamont Wade Jr. These guys hitting below 200. You need a little bit more there. And Mikey Stremski's starting to regress, only about a 330 on base out of him, but Jungle Lee continues to be able to supply for the team. He's hitting about a 275. And for the Colorado Rockies, even when this team is at home, they're not generating a lot of offense. Like, Coors Field is supposed to be a cheat code for offense. Right now for the Colorado Rockies, entering into Monday, 3.8 runs per game at home. That is a bottom 10 mark in the big leagues. I didn't know that was possible being at elevation, but somehow, some way, they're finding a way to be able to do so. And that's a big issue for this team because the bullpen has honestly not been bad. Like, Zach Ogdos has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. You've got Jake Bird, Jimmy Harrogate. These guys give you a respectable effort. Victor Vonnick is coming off the injured list. You've honestly been able to get some okay bullpen pitching, which is very strange because you never have good bullpen pitching for this team. But, even when you look at this team at home they're hitting at 246, and at home they're averaging less than a home run per game, as you've got Ryan McMahon who's hit 6 bombs and 400 on base at home. That's rock solid. Jordan Beck is sitting at 300 at Coors Field, and Hunter Goodman's sitting about at 250. Only 2 of his home runs have come at home. He's actually hit much more of his bombs when he's been on the road, but that's like Kyle Farmer is sitting right around about at 200 when he's at home. Jacob Stallings has given you nothing. Sean Borchard has given you nothing. You've got a lot of guys that are just dead bats out there. Now you do add in there a few guys like a Thairo Estrada along with Orlando Arcia, but when those are the guys that are supposed to save your season, you know where your season's at. And for Carson Palmquist, 8.50 ERA in his first 4 starts. Yeah, he's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's giving up north of 4 walks per 9 innings. Should he see a little bit of positivity? Yes, especially with the Giants lineup towards the bottom of the half of it being a little bit down, but that said, I think that's going to be the Rockies getting my base once again. I was willing to lay it up to a minus 182 with regards to a run and a half on this run line. The FanDuel opener is minus 154. Sign me up there, and I'm going to be in on the under, so my total at a 10.8. 960, 962 on the betting board. The LA Dodgers are on the road. They're facing off against the Slam Diego Padres. As Dylan Cease, we know, is going to be on the bump for the Padres. Right now, it's all to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Dodgers. This is a game that's presently off the board. When I was looking at CBS Sports, they were projecting Jose Urena getting the start for the Dodgers, and if you do indeed get Jose Urena getting the start for the Dodgers, I will be setting the Padres at a minus 137, so I would need at least plus 138 to take a shot on the Dodgers, minus 136 or better, looking at the Padres, and then set a total of an 8.4, 8 or less, looking at the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. The important part isn't necessarily Jose Urena going for the Dodgers. This would, if he does go Urena, it would be a bulk appearance for him. It would be a lot of guys that you'd be mixing and matching with. You've got Urena, Ben Casparis, Jack Dreyer. These guys are going to be filling like 3 to 2 innings apiece, and all these guys are relatively okay. Now for Urena, if he does indeed see some bulk innings in this, he's a guy that I really have never had any faith in whatsoever, as he's right now rocking a 5.40 ERA thus far this season across 9 total appearances, and I really don't trust him. Ben Casparis has actually been solid. He's been able to give you about a 3 ERA. His strikeouts per 9 rates north of 11. Jack Dreyer has been able to give you sub 3.5 ERA, and it is a Dodgers bullpen that does have reinforcements in it. Michael Kopech is fresh off the injury list. You get back Kirby Yates, though. He and Tanner Scott both have north of 4 ERA, but those guys being back, that is pretty rock solid for this bullpen. And as we all know, with the LA Dodgers, this is one of the best offenses you're going to find in all baseball. That guy by the name of Shohei Ohtani currently has 23 home runs and a 390 on base. That's pretty solid. Andy Paez continues to give you 12 home runs. He's hitting for about a 290. Freddie Freeman, along with Will Smith, they're getting jiggy with it when they're at the 4 on base. Teoscar Hernandez has been able to give you 10 home runs. Michael Conforto has been an issue. He's hitting $170 with 3 home runs, but even Max Muncy has started to find it a little bit more. And then you take a look at the flip side for the San Diego Padres team, and it's been a pedestrian offense. Like, this is a team that's right around about league average with regards to runs per game. You've got 2 guys who've been able to give you double-figure amount of bombs, Fernando Tatis Jr., along with Mr. Gavin Sheets. Now, I will say there's a third one, Manny Machado. He went deep on Sunday to be able to get that 10th home run season. And Machado's been doing a nice job moving the line, hitting above a 315, 380 on base. Tatis, along with Kevin Cheese, both in between about a 250 to 260, but we do still have guys that are finding a way on, like Jackson Merrill's hitting about a 300, Jake Cronenworth off the injured list, a 370 on base. You could use a little bit more the catcher spot, Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado. They've been trying to mix and match with these guys, and when you've got Brandon Lockridge in the outfield, that's not necessarily amazing, but this has been a Padres team that has been a top 4 team with regards to their bullpen area. Lots of guys are able to mix and match with. Robert Suarez is one of the better closers in all baseball. He, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, all a sub 225 ERA. Andre Montahona has been a really good long guy, sub 275 ERA. Not going to give you a ton of strikeouts, but he's been rock solid. Yuki Matsui, about a 3.2 ERA as well. So I do think that for the Padres, they should be a nice sizable favorite. And maybe I'm just a schmuck for thinking this. I have to believe that Dylan Cease at some point is going to find it. He has had a very underwhelming season, despite the fact that he's still getting good strikeout numbers. He's not overdoing it with regards to walks. He's giving up about 3.1 walks per 9 innings. He's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's giving up 1 home run per 9, 4.72 ERA, 3.20 fielding dependent. Just night in, night out, he seems to be getting unlucky as he's given up 3 runs approximately in each out of his last 4 starts. So I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 136 on this Padres money line, plus 138 or higher, looking at the Dodgers, and then 8 or less in on the over 8.5 or higher. The under 963, 964 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers are on the road facing off against the Baltimore Orioles. This is another game that's off the board because we know the Tigers are going to be going with Sawyer, Gibson, Long for them, and for the Baltimore Orioles, it is currently to be determined, which is why this game is off the board. It is believed to be Cade Povich, who's going to be going for Baltimore. And if we do indeed get Mr. Povich, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 135 on the Tigers. Money line would need at least plus 137 to go with the Orioles, and then set a total of 9.2. 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. If it's not Cade Povich, it's probably not going to be an upgrade. You've got a few young guns in the Orioles, I guess you'd call it farm system, and I'd be grading them out mostly about the same, unless we get something very, very extreme. And for Baltimore, it's a case where this bullpen as well is just not going to be providing a lot of support, whether it is Povich or some other sort of a schlub starting for them. As for the Baltimore Orioles, they're currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues with regards to their bullpen ERA. Ynier Cano, Seranthony Dominguez, Matt Bowman, all these guys busting up north of far ERA has been rough. Felix Bautista has been a little bit up and down. He's starting to find it. And credit to Brian Baker, Keegan Aiken, these guys have been able to supply a sub 3 ERA for the Orioles. Their offense has been able to round into form a little bit more, but they took a little bit of a setback over the weekend against the Athletics, where you're getting swept by the Athletics, who had went 1-20 for a stretch in 21 games. You know that things are not going well there, and it's really just a power ball that has been eluding this team. You do have 4 different guys that have given you at least 8 home runs: Cedric Mullins, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, and Ryan O'Hearn, but Mullins has been dealing with injury. Henderson and Holliday both hitting about a 265, and then O'Hearn has been able to give you nearly a 400 on base, but as Sakir said, is sitting below the middle sign 200. Tyler O'Neill has been in and out of the lineup all season long, and when he's been in there, he has provided nothing. Dylan Carlson is hitting right around about a 215. You just have had a lot of guys that have been so underwhelming. Adley Rutschman hitting a 227. He's looked a little bit better recently, but I mean, that's a big reason why this team has struggled as well. You just need more out of Adley Rutschman. And then on the flip side, you've got yourself a Detroit Tigers team that they've got all the goods. Dating back to the All-Star break of the 2024 campaign, this team has been number 1 with regards to their bullpen ERA, as they're able to do such a good job of mixing and matching with these guys. So many of these guys are able to offer multiple innings of relief as well. Will Vest, Tommy Canley, Brent Herter, Brandon Hennefy, Chase Lee, all these guys give you a sub 290 ERA. Tyler Holton has been a little bit up and down, but past that, this has been a really, really good bullpen. And you've got a guy in Sawyer Gibson Long that is making his second start of the season. Did give up 3 runs at 3 2/3 innings in his first start of the season, but as I said, I do have a belief in this young guy. He got a few starts during the 2023 campaign, and he was able to get some good strikeout numbers there. And his first start, if I'm not mistaken, was against the Chicago Cubs. And you know, when you're going against the Chicago Cubs, a little bit forgivable that you're going to give up a few runs there. But that said, even when you take a look at what he was able to do in his minor league rehab appearances, strikeout numbers were a little bit down, as he was getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but once he gave up the deep ball, command was really good, and I do think that for the Detroit Tigers, they're going to do a nice job of backing him up with this very good lineup that now has a trio of different guys that have been able to give you at least 13 home runs, as you've gotten that out of Spencer Torkelson, Gary Carpenter, along with Riley Green, and for Torkelson, about a 340 on base, Carpenter and Green hitting in the neighborhood about a 275, and these are not solo shots, because Gleyber Torres is giving you 380 on base, Zach McKinstry at 360 on base, Javi Baez is now hitting for a 270, Dylan Dingler is moving the line, Cole Keith has been a little bit better, better in terms of finding a way on as well. So circumstance where with the Tigers, I'd be willing to lay up to minus 135 with that money line plus 137 or higher. Looking at Bovich and the Orioles, and then 9 or less in on the over 9.5 or higher. The under 965, 966 on the betting board. The Boston Red Sox are going to be playing those to the Tampa Bay Rays. Ryan Pepiot is on the bump for the Rays, and Lucas Giolito is on the bump for Boston. Boston is in a rather pick'em game. Both teams are anywhere between about a minus 102 to a minus 112, and total on this game is 9. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. So at my total 9.6, I'm going to be looking at the over. And for the Red Sox at a minus 105 or better, I'm going to be willing to side with them. This despite the fact that Lucas Giolito has been about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop this year. 6.42 ERA with 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, lowest that we've seen since like the 2018 season for him, so not great to say the least. And he comes in having allowed a combined 14 runs over the course of his last 4 starts, and he was only able to fill more than 5 innings in one of them. Yeah, not great to say the least. But for Ryan Pepiot, I do believe that he's in for quite a bit of regression as well, as Pepiot has been able to give you a 3.20 ERA, but this fielding dependent is a full point higher. He's at a 4.34 fielding dependent, career low 7.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's given up 1.4 bombs per 9 innings as well, has been getting away with a lot of just general contact. Now, I will say for Pepiot, he does have the better bullpen backing him, as this is a Tampa Bay Rays team that once again finds themselves in the top 7 with regards to their bullpen ERAs. You've had a lot of guys that have been able to be in this bullpen and be able to give you a sub-3 ERAs. I do like what I'm seeing out of Eric Orze, along with obviously the closer MP Fairbanks, Manuel Rodriguez. Even though Hunter Biggie's on the injured list, he's been rock solid when he's been out there. Garrett Clevenger, all these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Edwin Uceta has been a little bit of an issue for the team, but all in all, guys that are doing a relatively solid job. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this has been an offense that has really been able to find it with a pair of guys in Junior Caminero, Brandon Lau, who have been able to supply you with a combined 28 home runs thus far this season. Both of those guys hitting in the neighborhood about a 250 to 260, and well, the Tampa Bay Rays are generating about 4.6 runs per game away from home. They have ascended into the top 12 in the big leagues with regards to runs per game away from home, so do have to like to see that. Additionally, you've been able to get a few other guys that have been able to move line. Getting back Jake Magnum is nice. If those batting averages slipped a little bit, still hitting north of 270. You do need a few more, shall we say, hits out of guys like Danny Jansen, Taylor Walls, Christopher Morel at the bottom lineup. You do have quite a few guys at 225 or lower, but Jose Cabrera with the 21 stolen bases has been solid. Jonathan Aranda with the 4-arm base, do like that. But for the Boston Red Sox, top 4 team in the big leagues with regards to runs per game at home, with north of 5.2 runs per contest. Even with Alex Bregman out, you've got Weiler Abreu, Rafael Devers, combined 27 home runs. Devers is giving you north of 4-arm base. You've got Jarren Duran, who's been having a tough time with regards to power, but he's hitting for about a 275. Trevor Story has been awful, to say the least, but all of a sudden, Christian Campbell hits that home run on Sunday Night Baseball. Perhaps that's going to get him going a little bit more. Sadane Rafael is hitting for about a 245. He's been able to show a little bit more pop recently as well, and this has been a Red Sox bullpen that has been in the upper half of the big leagues with regards to ERA. Aroldis Chapman continues to be great. Like, I'm waiting for the air to come out of the balloon, but he's been giving you some 2 ERA, so he's getting 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. You have to give a little bit of credit where it is due. Brian Bernardino, Justin Wilson, sub 275 ERA. Them, Greg Weiser right around about a 275, and after a little bit of rough start to the season, Garrett Whitlock has been a little bit better in the long roll as well. So I did set the Red Sox here at a minus 161 to go up to a minus 105 on that money line, and did set back to all at 9.6. I'm also in on the over. 967, 968 on the betting board. It is the Walker Texas Rangers on the road against the Minnesota Twins. It is going to be Tyler Mahle on the bump for Texas. Reason why this game is off the board is that the Twins have yet to settle on a starter. All indications are it is going to be Simeon Woods Richardson, though books have yet to post up a number, but I've got my handicap. I said the Twins at a minus 111, so minus 110 or better. Looking at them, plus 112 or higher, going to be looking at the Texas Rangers, and set a total of an 8.2, 8 or less, looking at the over 8.5 or higher, the under for Simeon Woods Richardson. You both dealt with a little bit of ailment, and just in general got sent down to the minor leagues after he was less than tremendous to start out the season. Got 8 total appearances. He was rocking a 5 ERA with a fielding dependent of a 5.24. 8.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, a little bit less than tremendous. If this is indeed his first start, he's going to be making his first start in about 26, 27 days on a big league mound, and he made 3 starts for St. Paul. Neither here nor there. He was getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but again, was giving up a little bit of the deep ball, but this is probably the best landing spot that you can get. The Texas Rangers have been terrible with their offense this year. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of runs per game. They've got so many guys that are just not living up to their baseball card / what they have done in the past as well. You just go down the list of guys. They're right now hitting at 220 or lower, and it's absolutely astounding. You've got Marcus Semien, Semien, Adolis Garcia, Jock Peterson, Jake Berger. All these guys give you nothing. Now, Berger's actually up to a 223. Sorry, but 255 on base still. You're just not getting a lot out of these guys. Why Langford has given you 11 home runs, but now he's hitting for a 227 ever since coming off the injury list. Corey Seager has been a shell of himself. He's down to hitting a 240. He has been miserable since coming off the injury list. You are getting no offense here whatsoever from darn near anyone other than the Joshes. Josh Young, Josh Smith. Smith is hitting for about a 270. Young, 7 home runs, hitting a 255. This is just a bad lineup right now. And then for the Texas Rangers, it's a relatively league average bullpen. It's not bad. It's not amazing. You've had Bobby Milner along with Chris Martin all be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Cole Winn in his few appearances as well has actually been rock solid. We'll see if they give him more moving forward. Jacob Latz as a long guy has been able to give you about a 3.35 ERA, but you've had ups and downs with regards to of Luke Jackson along Jacob Webb. These guys have been posting up north of a 4.20 ERA. Our guy from Mortonville, Wisconsin, Caleb Ousley, has had his ups and downs as well. Strikeout numbers are a little bit up with him, which you do like to see that. And on the flip side for the Minnesota Twins, it has been a bullpen that has been pretty rock solid. They've been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA, so even if you don't necessarily get the world's greatest start of Woods Richardson, you still have a lot of guys who are able to come in there, hold down the fort. Justin Topa, Louis Varlin, Brocken Rolberg, along with the closer and Yohan Dadan, have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Danny Kloon being on the injury list has been a little bit rough, but what is going to be a little bit rough for this Twins team is the fact that Tyler Mahle has really been rolling this year. For Tyler Mahle, I do think that there's going to be regression to this 2.02 ERA, but he's been able to do a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. He has given up just 3 home runs over the course of 71 1/3 innings across 13 starts. Now 3.3 walks and 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he's allowing a lot of general contact, and he has not been quite the same pitcher when he has been away from home rather than when he has been at home. For Tyler Mahle, when he's been at home, he has been absolutely lights out with a ERA of a 0.82, goes up to a 3.95 on the road, but he does go up against a Minnesota Twins team that they themselves have had some issues with regards to their lineup. Royce Lewis has been miserably bad this year. You do have a pair of guys in Trevor Larnach and Byron Buxton up to 10 home runs, both hitting in that neighborhood about a 2.55. Ty France has been able to give you about a 3.40 on base. You've got more guys moving the line like at Harrison Bader's up to a 3.45 on base. Cody Clemens has actually been really good for this team. 3.50 on base, 6 home runs in his first 85 at bats, but you have someone like an Eduardo Julian, Christian Vasquez hitting below a 2.15. So interesting scenario here. And Woods Richardson against Mahle would be one way up to a -110 with the Twins plus 112 or higher. Looking at the Rangers and then 8 or less in on the over, 8.5 or higher. The under 969, 970 on the card. You've got the New York Yankees on the road against the Kansas City Royals. Noah Cameron is on the bump for the Royals and Mad Max Fried is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees are between -180 to -190 favorites and between plus 150 to a plus 162. That number on the Royals, and 8 is the total, but the 8 has massive juice to the over. -120 to -130, and between even money to plus 110 is that number on the under, and I am hoping that we can get an 8.5 because I do like this total under whether you got an 8 or an 8.5. I set my total at a 7.6. For Noah Cameron, I do think that there's going to be a regression with him. For Noah Cameron, he's been giving up a lot of general contact, and somehow, some way, he is just keeping the ball in the yard. A 0.85 ERA over the course of his first 5 starts. He has allowed 1 runner fewer at each out of his 5 starts. He's filled at least 6 innings and every one of them, despite 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. It baffles the human mind. 364 fielding dependence, so his fielding dependence is quadruple what his ERA is, but hey, you know what? Somehow, some way, he's getting out of it, so he has been tremendous. And for Max Fried, he has been absolutely masterful all season long. Again, not necessarily some sort of a swing and miss artist. He's getting about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's only giving up 2 walks per 9. He's giving up 0.6 home runs per 9 as well, so he has been really good for the team. Sub-2 ERA, fielding dependence, a full point higher, and you did have that blow-up start on the road against the LA Dodgers, but not too much of fear here against a Kansas City Royals team that right now is averaging 3.1 runs per game at home. That is dead last in the big leagues. You've had Vinny Pasquantino give you 10 home runs, and he's updating north of 250. You just expect a little bit more out of Bobby Witt Jr. For any player not named Bobby Witt Jr. standards, he's been having a pretty nice season. He's giving you a 350 on base. He's been up to 8 or 9 home runs this season, but you just expect a little bit more out of him. Salvador Perez has been bad. 5 home runs at a 266 on base. You just need a bit more there. Jonathan India starting to round into form. He's sitting about a 250, and then Kyle Isbell along with Drew Waters at the bottom line. Hitting north of 270 is nice, but you don't get any power out of these guys whatsoever. Jack Caglione has struggled since coming up to the big league level, but for the Royals, this has been a top 8 team with regards to bullpen ERA. Now, you do have Lucas Ursuch on the injured list, but Carlos Aceves has been supplying a sub-2 ERA. Daniel Lynch has been really good in this bullpen with a sub-225 ERA. Jonathan Bolin is starting to experience some regression, but Steven Cruz has been rock solid as well, so I really like what I'm seeing there. And for the New York Yankees bullpen, that is a big trepidation trepidation that you've got with them, because I think that Fried is going to be amazing, but Devin Williams is now in the closer's role, and Devin Williams has not been a very good closer thus far this season, rocking that nice 6 ERA, and then Jonathan Loaizaga has been a little bit of an issue. He's been giving you about a 4.50 ERA. Ian Hamilton has not been great. Ben Hedrick is up to north of 5 ERA. Yuri De Los Santos has actually been really good. He's been able to give you a sub 2.50 ERA. Tim Hill has been able to be relatively solid, but without having Luke Weaver in the bullpen, it's been rough. But you do have this Yankees lineup that is right atop the American League in terms of run creation, with Aaron Judge, 23 bombs, 493 on base. It's just absolutely unreal. Cody Bellinger over the last 3 days has been hitting darn near 300, and he's been supplying a lot more power as well. You've got Trent Grisham, Ben Rice combined for 25 home runs, both hitting about a 240, and then Austin Wells is only hitting at 221, but he's been able to give you a little bit more power as well. Getting back Jazz Chisholm should be able to help. He should be able to give you a bit more average, and he's starting to be able to hit for some power as well. And Paul Goldschmidt right around about a 370 on base, so he's regressed a little bit over the last few weeks. I did set my total at 7.6. I think that both of these pitchers supply a good start, and being able to get north of plus 160 on the Royals, set them at a plus 161. I like them on the money line. 971, 972 on the card. The Chicago White Sox are on the road against the Houston Astros, as Lance McCullers Jr. is on the bump for the Astros, and you've got Mr. Shane Smith on the bump for the White Sox. White Sox do find themselves as underdogs between plus 158 to a plus 170, and between minus 180 to minus $2 is that number on Houston. 7.5 is the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. And if you're looking to lay a little bit of a run line here with the Houston Astros, you're going to be finding that at a plus 108, and I'd be willing to go up to a minus 108 with regards to that run line. I actually do think that Lance McCullers Jr. is starting to find it a little bit more his first few starts, because he hadn't been on a big league mound in 2 full seasons, so he needed a little bit of time to be able to get things sorted out, but he's looked much better recently. He has now given up a combined 5 earned runs over the course of his last 4 starts, 7 runs in total. There were a few unearned runs in there, and the swing and miss is right back for him. How about 7+ strikeouts in each of his last 3 starts? 4.44 ERA, but a 3.93 fielding dependence. He's getting 12.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he gets to go up against a Chicago White Sox team that's been miserable on the road. 6 road wins this year. That is the same as the Colorado Rockies. And for the Chicago White Sox, 2.94 runs per game away from home. That is second to only, again, the Colorado Rockies. So you've got a little bit of a rough go of it there. Now, for the Chicago White Sox, reinforcements have come back for this team. Andrew Benintendi spent some time on the injured list. He's back. He's hitting darn near 250. He's able to give you a little bit of pop. You had out for the beginning part of the season a few of these other guys as well that have been able to come back, have been able to give you a little bit of something. Like now you've been able to have Mike Tauchman be able to come in. He's been able to hit for darn near 300 and about a 400 on base, so that helps the team out a little bit. Now Luis Robert just continues to be miserable. North of 20 stolen bases, but a .177 average with 5 home runs. Man, that is not good. Chase Midroth has been able to give you nearly a 300 average as well, and the catcher Edgar Quiero has been halfway decent. He's hitting for about a 260, and you got Miguel Vargas up to 9 home runs. Now this is a bullpen that's in the bottom 10 of the big leagues with regards to their ERA. Dan Altavilla has actually been able to give you some okay innings. Tyler Alexander is on a long and winding road. They utilize him a little bit, but I think that they immediately DFA'd him, which that tells you where this bullpen is at. Jordan Leisure, Cam Boucher, Brandon Iser, all north of 4 ERA. And for the Houston Astros, this continues to be a top 10 team with regards to their bullpen ERA, as you've got the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Caleb Ward, Stephen Oker, Josh Hader, all give you at least a 3 ERA or better. And for the Astros, this has been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of their run creation as well, but Jeremy Pena has been rock solid, 370 on base. He's up to 9 home runs. Jose Altuve, after a rough start to the season, last 30 days, he's been able to hit north of 275. He's got 9 home runs this season. Isaac Paredes, 14 bombs, 350 on base. You've had Jake Myers hit a 300. Yanier Diaz, 271 on base with 8 home runs. Christian Walker's up to 8 home runs, but at 270 on base. You just need to get a little bit more out of those guys. This has been a team that's just not been willing to draw too many walks this season, but as I said, I do think that they do a nice job getting to a guy in Shane Smith that has been very good in terms of inducing some soft contact, but I do think that we are going to see a little bit of regression with our good friend and Mr. Smith, as right now he is supplying the team with a 245 ERA, but I feel like he depended more around about a 352. 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 3.5 walks per 9. He's giving up 0.6 home runs per 9, and he's on a really good run where he's given up a combined 7 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts, but I do think that the Astros are going to be able to take him up a little bit more here. I do think that the White Sox generate a little bit more offense off of McCullers as well. Semi-total at 80.1. I like the over, and I do like the Astros on the run line. 973, 974 on the betting board. The Athletics are on the road against the LA Angels, as Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Alos, and it is all to be determined who's going to be on the bump for the Athletics, so this is a game that's off the board. We've had to do this song and dance for north of a week, by the way. The Athletics refuse to announce a starter. Like, someone needs to step in and say, dudes, you're fooling nobody. Your entire pitching rotation is complete and utter garbage. Just announce a starter and get it over with. Right now, CBS Sports is right now projecting Mitch Spence to be able to get a start for them, and he wouldn't necessarily be an opener. I don't think he would give you full 5 innings, but he wouldn't be an opener. So I said it as if we're going to get Mitch Spence. I set my money line at a minus 153 on the Angels. We'll go up to a minus 152 there, plus 154 higher on the Athletics, and then set a total 9.3. 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5 or higher. The under, if you get some sort of another Athletic starter, it's probably going to be relatively the same handicap. I'm going to call it what it is because they just don't really have anyone other than Luis Severino that's able to give you a functional start, and he can only give you functional starts when he's on the road. He can't do so at home, and really the main thing that you're taking a look at with the Athletics is the offense. As Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker have been able to combine for 27 home runs. You've got Soderstrom and Rooker both give you between about a 340 to a 345 on base, and all of a sudden Jacob Wilson is starting to draw some walks. He's been able to do a nice job taking it up for 8 bombs, 372 average, which outside of Aaron Judge, that's right there at the top of the American League. Miguel Andujar is on the injured list, but been able to get some relatively good production out of someone like Luis Arias, who's been able to give you about a 240 or so average, 335 on base. Jay Bangs, Jay Langoliers, he's up to 10 bombs as well. But this is an Athletics bullpen that is dead last in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Among players that have pitched at least 1.2 innings this season, you've got one guy with a sub 365 ERA. Sean Newcomb, in 4 appearances, he's got a 3 ERA. Yip-de-doo there. And for Mitch Spence, he's actually not been terrible. 4.09 ERA, he's getting 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3 walks per 9, 1 home run per 9. It's not amazing, but for athletic standards, he's actually been really good. And you do want to note this with the Athletics as well. This has actually been a much better team in terms of pitching on the road rather than at home. They have been completely miserable when they've been at home. Now, it's not to say that they are amazing when they're on the road as well. This is a combined 5.48 ERA on the road, but a 5.85 ERA at home. Like, good grief. These guys are really not good when they're at home. And you've got on the flip side an LA Angels team that has Jose Soriano, who's got some of the most interesting home and road splits that you're going to find in all of baseball. For Soriano, he's overall for the season, but posting up a 4.11 ERA. He's not going to get you a lot of swings and misses. He's getting about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He always gives up a few more walks than what you'd like, 4 walks per 9 innings, but he does a good job of inducing soft contact. But when he's been at home, he has been an abject disaster. 5.92 ERA, and he is giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings at home, 48 innings, 0 home runs allowed, and a 3.19 road ERA. So, yeah, that has been interesting to say the least. And he's backed up by a bullpen that also stinks. They're in the bottom 4 in the big leagues in terms of their own bullpen ERA. Like, they're looking at the corpse of Mr. Hunter Strickland to be able to give them some innings, and to his credit, 8 appearances has yet to give up an earned run, so yay there, but he is the only guy in the roster that has thrown at least 10 innings that is not Yusei Kikuchi, that is a sub-375 ERA. Like Ryan Zefrian, Jose Fermin, along Kenley Jansen, they're all rocking north of a 4.5 ERA. Brock and Roll Burke is at right around about a 5 ERA. But the thing is, for the LA Angels, this team is in the top 4 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis. You've got 5 different guys with at least 10 home runs. Zach Neto, Joe Adell, Logan Hoppe, Taylor Ward, along with Mr. Mike Trout. Trout starting to hit for a little bit of average since coming off the injured list, but among these guys, you've only got Zach Neto, who's giving you north of 300 on base with a 303 on base. Taylor Ward at 264 on base. You've got Joe Adell who's hitting for like a 220 right now, so you need a little bit more of those guys. Jorge Soler has been a little bit banged up, 8 home runs, but only hitting for about a 220 himself. Kyron Paris had to get sent down to the minor league level. You've had very, very bad results out of Luis Renifo this season, so interesting scenario here. Minus 152 or better, looking at the Angels, plus 154 or higher. The Athletics and the 9 or less, like the over 9.5 or higher. The under 975, 976 on the card. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're on to the road face-off against the Cleveland Guardians. Slade Sassoni is on the bump for Cleveland, and Andrew Abbott goes for the Reds. The Reds do find themselves as underdogs, if any, between minus 105 to a plus 104, between minus 112 to minus 121. That number on Cleveland. 8.5 is the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. And I did set my total at an 8.3 and an 8.5. I like the under, but I'm going to be willing to ride with the Reds on the money line, and I just don't get the love for Slade Sassoni. Like, there are a lot of people thinking, Slade Sassoni, he's going to be some sort of a savior for the Cleveland Guardians. 4.87 ERA. Swing and miss stuff is up this year. He's getting 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's better than 7.5 from last year, but 6.12 fielding dependent because he's been a human pinata. 6 home runs allowed in 4 starts and 20 in a third innings. That's not good, to say the least, and he's giving up 3 walks per 9 innings. And for Andrew Abbott, is he due in for some regression? Absolutely, Andrew Abbott is, as right now he's posting up a 2.18 ERA, but the swing and miss stuff has been very good. 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings, 344 fielding dependent. Now, he does give up a little bit north of 3 walks per 9 innings, and he needs to fine-tune that a little bit, but I mean, overall, for Andrew Abbott, he's been able to do a very rock-solid job, and he's backed up by a lineup that has been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home. This is a little bit of fool's gold because they had that game against the Baltimore Orioles earlier in the season where they posted up a 24 spot to really lead the way, but you've got Ellie De La Cruz, who's been able to give you 12 home runs. He's hitting for about a 340 on base. You've been able to get some good production out of someone like a TJ Friedel along with Gavin Lux. Both of these guys north of a 365 on base. Spencer Steer needs to pick it up. He's hitting at 225 without a lot of power. You've had, coming off the injured list, Christian Encarnacion Strand. He's been able to give you 5 home runs at about 70 at-bats, so that's helping you out as well. You've had guys like a Jake Fraley and company, when they've been out there, have been a disaster. And Austin Hayes being on the injured list has hurt the seam, but whenever you've had Jose Trevino out there, he's actually been relatively solid, hitting for about a 300. And then on the flip side, you do have yourself a bunch that has been very suspect with regards to the bottom of the lineup. As for the Cleveland Guardians, you've had Jose Ramirez do a really good job hitting at 333, 12 home runs. Stephen Kwan is sitting at 300 at the leadoff spot. Carlos Santana, 355 on base. Gabriel Urias is hitting about a 240. Okay. But then you've got Kyle Manzardo, who's got 11 home runs this year, but he's hitting at 205. And then these guys like Bo Naylor, John Kenzie Noel, when he's been out there on the field, Nolan Jones hitting at 220 or lower. You just need a bit more something there. Austin Edges, whenever he gets a start, is hitting a $113. He is about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop at the plate. And for the Cleveland Guardians, no longer do they have that supreme bullpen from a season ago. This is about a league average team with regards to their bullpen ERA. Hunter Gaddis, Kate Smith have been rock solid, sub 250 ERA out of both of those. And Kate Smith, along with Hunter Gaddis, both give you 12.3 strikeouts plus per 9 innings. Tim Aaron is starting to round into form, about a 360 ERA. And Emmanuel Clase is looking a little bit better right now. He's still got a 354 ERA for the season, but it's been better over the last month or so. But that said, Joey Cantillo is not necessarily reliable in a long roll. Jacob Junis has been having his issues as well. Nick Enright is a guy that they're kicking the tires on because they've dealt with a whole bunch of injuries. And I do think that for the Reds, they do find a way to get the job done on the road. So I tell it at 8.3. So here at the 8.5, I do like the under, and I do like the Red Legs on the money line. I believe that they should be the favorite. 977, 978 on the card. The Toronto Blue Jays are on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Miles Michaelis goes for the Cards, and Chris Bassett is the line and sinker for Toronto. Toronto's between minus 115 to a minus 125 favorite, and between minus 105 to a plus 110 is that number on St. Louis. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 120. The over is even. I did set the Cardinals at a plus 109, so at a plus 110, that becomes my minimum buy point on them. I continue to think that we're going to see regression out of Miles Michaelis. He has been getting away with just a lot of contact in general. Somehow, some way, he's been able to hold the ball in the yard all season long. 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings, despite getting 5.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. And by the way, his 2.5 walks per 9 innings, that's the most he's had that since the 2014 season. So I do find that to be intriguing. 396 ERA, 367 field independent, has given up a combined 7 runs over his last 2 starts, but we have been seeing a bit of regression for Chris Bassett as well, who's actually putting together a really nice season. A 356 ERA, field independent is more around about a 344. He's getting 9 strikeouts at 2 walks per 9 innings, allowing just north of a home run per 9, but has given up a combined 11 runs over the course of his last 3 starts. I have to wonder if the air is falling out of the balloon a little bit for him. And I will say this for the Toronto Blue Jays, all of a sudden they've been able to do a really good job of mixing and matching in the bullpen, entering into Monday, number 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. This is despite the fact that Chad Green has not necessarily been so rock solid, and Jeff Hoffman, one of their big offseason acquisitions, has been disastrous for the team. But you've been able to have these guys like a Brandon Little when he's been in a long role. Eric Lauer, obviously probably not going to pitch in this game. Paxton Schultz, these guys give you a sub 320 ERA. Yuriel Rodriguez has been rock solid for the team. They are dealing with the Amy Garcia being on the injured list, but Mason Fluharty has been able to give you some good innings. Now what the issue for the Toronto Blue Jays is the offense. Right now this is a team that is averaging 3.2 runs per game away from home. That is in the bottom 6 in the big leagues, and you just don't have a lot of power with this team. Like Dalton Varsho is currently tied for second on the team in home runs, and he's missed darn near 40 games this season. That tells you the issue right there. George Springer, 10 home runs, 365 on base. He's been solid, and these guys are getting on base. You've been able to have Ernie Clement, Bo Bichette, Lager Jr. hitting between about about 270, 275. Guerrero's giving you about a 380 on base, but for Bichette and Guerrero, just 8 home runs apiece. You've got a guy in Mr. Anthony Santander who's not lived up to his billing. He's been on the injury list. Andrew Kirk is hitting for a 300, but again, only 3 home runs, not necessarily drawing a ton of walks as well. And then on the flip side, you do have a St. Louis Cardinals team that they themselves have been one of your lesser teams with regards to power, but getting back Ivan Herrera, I thought was very big for them. 6 home runs and 114 at-bats, hitting above a 300. Lars Nootbaar right now leading the way with 8 home runs, but he's been able to give you about a 350 on base. You've got Wilson Contreras, along Nolan Arenado, 2 older guys that need to give you a bit more of something. Contreras, 325 on base with 7 home runs, and Arenado hitting at 237 with 7 home runs. That's just down for him, but Mason Winn has been able to give you about a 350 on base. Victor Scott is starting to regress a little bit, but whenever Alec Burleson has been out there, as he's out with a little bit of injury, he's been able to turn near 300 as well. And for the Cardinals, I do think that this bullpen is going to round into form. They've been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but still believe that Ryan Helsley is still one of the better closers you're going to find in all of baseball. Kyle Leahy, Phil Matone have both been able to give you a sub-250 ERA, and Steven Matz, low-key out of the bullpen, has been a really good long guy with a sub-250 ERA, not necessarily striking out a lot of guys along Kyle Leahy, but these guys do a nice job inducing that soft contact. John King has been solid as well, so I do think that for the St. Louis Cardinals, they should be a very slight underdog, but being able to get that plus 110 or higher, I'm going to be looking at the money line. I did somebody saw it at 8.2 with these 2 offenses, so like the under, and I do like that money line of St. Louis, and we wrap things up to 979, 980 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Brandon Pfaadt is looking to battle for Arizona, and Brian Wu says woohoo to another start for Seattle. Seattle between minus 108 to minus 115 favorites, and between minus 105 to a plus 102 is that number on Arizona, and 9 is the total. The under is between minus 115 to a minus 120. The over is between even a minus 105. Do you like the over here? Because Brandon Pfaadt has been absolutely terrible recently. Like, you want to talk about a bad run for a pitcher. Brandon Pfaadt in his last 2 starts, 14 runs, 13 of which have been earned while he got 9 outs. He has given up more runs than he's gotten outs in his last 2 starts. Like, you've got to be kidding me. This guy's just went completely down the toilet bowl. Thus far this season, a 5.51 ERA with north of 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He is just completely regressed. He is completely lost right now. He needs some sort of reset because, man, it's not good. This entire Diamondbacks pitching rotation needs some sort of reset. Aside from Merrill Kelly, these guys have all been just absolutely terrible. Like, the bullpen right now is in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, you've had Jalen Beeks, who's been able to give you some good innings along Shelby Miller. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-375 ERA. And getting back Justin Martinez helps out that bullpen a little bit as well, but I mean, man, it is just a slog for this team right now because now they're trying out their Ryan Nelson for starts, Ryan Thompson, north of 5 ERA. Scott McGough has been terrible in this bullpen. Juan Murillo has been terrible in this bullpen. They were trotting out their Bryce Jarvis a little bit before. They might need to send him back out there. He's been posting up north of 7 ERA. Kendall Graveman has become a human pinata. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're going to need to slug their way to victory because they do have a top 6 offense in terms of runs per game. Corbin Carroll and Eugenio Suarez entering into the series, 18 home runs apiece. Now, Suarez not hitting for a ton of average, but 18 home runs are 18 home runs. You've had Corbin Carroll be able to give you a 340 on base. Josh Naylor is hitting a 280 for this bunch. You've been able to get quite a few guys to move line, get on base like a Geraldo Perdomo, Pavin Smith, Ketel Marte. These guys have all been able to give you at least a 360 on base. In the case of Marte, 12 home runs at 136 at bats, north of a 400 on base. And on the flip side, you've got a Seattle Mariners team that's been in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game away from home. As Julio Rodriguez has been progressing, you've had Ore Polanco regress. Both of these guys hitting between about a 250 to 260, 10 bombs apiece. But Cal Raleigh, big dumper. He's on pace right now for like 62 plus home runs, 26 bombs, 380 on base entering into the series. Randy Arozarena, not hitting for a lot of average, but he'll give you a 340 on base. Dylan Moore has been able to get 8 home runs, so he's slowed down a little bit and is out with a little bit of ailment. But all in all, this has been a pretty rock solid lineup with JP Crawford also give you about a 390 on base. And for the Seattle Mariners, I recognize that they had a little bit of strife a week or 2 ago with regards to this bullpen, but in terms of bullpen ERA, they've been an okay team, right around about 13th in the big leagues. You've got Andres Munoz along with Matt Brash, both give you a sub-2 ERA. Gabe Spire has been able to do a relatively solid job when he's gotten his innings as well. Colin Sider has just went down the tubes, and now he's on the injury list, so that's not necessarily amazing for the team. Edward Bazardo is not a guy that you trust in too much, as well as Trent Thornton, but you've been able to get some relatively good innings out of Carlos Vargas, about a 3 ERA, and again, with this Arizona Diamondbacks team, man, it is just looking all sorts of rough for them. I personally set my Mariners money line at a minus 128. I'm going to be willing to roll with them, and I did set my total here at a 9.3. So at the 9, I'm going to be willing to go with the over as well. And that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to Justin Perri, who does such great work over at Chuck Quality Bets, along with Pitcher List. You join me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to throw those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters name does not matter. So, per usual, please send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast by that 5-star review. And I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, which means I am back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.